Welcome back. In this session, we will deal with the outward process of CRU. Uh, the outward process, what is the outward process of CRU? In Tapal section, currently in physical form, the person who has to dispatch a letter will give the letter to the Tapal person. The Tapal person will enter it in the OC register. He will put it in an envelope, and when uh, the post person from the speed post office or courier person comes, he will give that envelope. He will take the courier receipt, he will take the courier number or the speed post number, he will enter it in the Tapal register, in the outward register. So that is the process that is happening now. So let's see how it is mapped to e-office. Before going there, while taking inward, I said some inwards will have enclosures. Like I have mentioned a case in which an invert had a pen drive. In that case, what will the Tapal person do? When there is an enclosure, when he is marking it to somebody, the enclosure has to be sent to him physically. Like that thumb drive that has come with the letter, that cannot be put in e-office, but you have marked in the letter that was inverted, for which a receipt was created, that there is an enclosure of thumb drive. Now that enclosure of thumb drive will have to be sent to the person to whom he is marking the letter. So, but in case it is marked to a very senior officer, then that senior officer will be marking it to a junior officer. You can also make an SOP such that the junior officer who receives a letter with which mentions an enclosure inside will have to go to Tapal section and collect the enclosure. Rather than the CRU person finding out the junior officer from a whole bunch of 100 officers, after that letter reaches its final destination, for example, that letter is sent to commissioner in e-office and the commissioner marks it to JC marks it to AC marks it to a superintendent. Now the superintendent, who is the endpoint of that letter, who has an enclosure mentioned, can go to CRU and collect a thumb drive. That you can deal it when you create an SOP for the CRU. How it has to happen for every individual building. Okay, how will that superintendent find out if there is an enclosure? When he opens that letter, when he opens that letter, in this enclosures, that superintendent will be able to see that there is an enclosure of pen drive or there is some other enclosure. When he sees there is some enclosure, then what he can do, suppose it is a booklet that cannot be scanned, because booklet has to be scanned in a flatbed scanner. So mostly scanners in Tapal will be auto document feed. So the booklets, we can make an SOP like any booklets that come with a letter that can be mentioned as an enclosure here. The endpoint of that letter, recipient of that letter, for example, in this case, in our example, the superintendent, he can go and collect the enclosure, in this case pen drive, from the CRU. So an SOP can be prepared internally in an organization so that it can be dealt. So for example, in a division it is much simpler. There will be one or two levels, it will be a compact space, so the Tapal person can send that enclosures directly to the person to whom he is marking it. Suppose he is marking it to the Assistant Commissioner Division 6, the Tapal person can take the pen drive and give it to Assistant Commissioner Division 6, telling that along with this receipt number so and so, there was a pen drive. But when such informal process is not possible, capture it in SOP and make an SOP that says that the end recipient of the letter will have to see whether there are any enclosures, and if there are any enclosures, the end recipient will have to go to CRU and collect that enclosure and keep it with him. Okay, so that is one addition to the inward process that was missed out earlier. Now let's go to the outward process of Tapal. So where will the outward process start? I'll show you an example. So I'm taking a file which has a draft. So this the CRU person need not know, but I am explaining it so that he or she will come to know where does his or her work start. No, where will the dispatch of a CRU will start? When a person who has prepared a draft, who got it approved, is going to send it. Okay, how will he send it? He will go to his drafts inside the file. He will click on this dispatch by CRU. When he or she clicks on that dispatch by CRU, he can either click on send with follow up or send without follow up. That is not important for a CRU person. Suppose I am clicking on send without follow up. Okay, so what I have done, what I have done is I have selected, like I was showing you the starting process of any outward that is going to happen in the Tapal session. What is the starting point? From any file or from any receipt, when that person is going to dispatch a draft. So how he will do it? He will go to the draft that is approved, then he will click on dispatch by CRU. Okay, when he clicks on dispatch by CRU, he can put in the CRU user's name. Suppose he is putting, so I am the CRU person, so the role I am playing is of CRU person named Padmaraj. Okay, so I am sending it to that CRU person named Padmaraj. How I am going to send it? I am sending it by hand. I am going to go and give it to him. I am putting it here, please dispatch. So what is the process here? I have got a draft approved, the RO has got a draft approved. Now the RO wants to dispatch that letter through CRU. And what is CRU person's name? Padmaraj. So I want to give it to that CRU person. So I have selected the CRU person's name here. I am selecting Padmaraj. I am telling please dispatch, and I am telling send without follow up. Okay, so this is the starting point. An RO has given, RO wants to dispatch a letter through CRU. He has selected the name of the CRU person. The CRU person's name is Padmaraj. Now I being Padmaraj, how will I see that letter? How will I see whether a dispatch has come? Now the CRU person's main job every day is they have to continuously check this dispatch. This left side there is a dispatch, second dispatch, not the first one, the second dispatch. In that there is an inbox. So this inbox the CRU person should continuously check. So this is an important thing. Okay, this is to be checked regularly by the CRU person. Now the letter that one RO has sent, which was marked as please dispatch by hand, this is actually the dispatch mode. So dispatch mode, they want to send it through. That is this dispatch mode. It can be anything. CRU person also can put in a dispatch mode. The CRU person's dispatch mode that I'll be going to show it to you now could be different from whatever they have intended, whatever the actual sender who has sent it to CRU has intended. Like these two dispatch modes could be different. The one that he had marked it here and the one you are going to dispatch it through could be different. That is not an issue. But now inside this dispatch, this one important thing is the CRU person will not be able to see what is the matter of dispatch. He will be only be able to see this information. So if he clicks on any item in the inbox, he will be just able to see this cover. Okay, he will not be able to see what is the matter. Okay, so what is to be now? How will the CRU person dispatch? He has to mandatorily receive the hard copy of the letter. So your SOP, the SOP that you are going to prepare can be such that if a person, if a superintendent wants to send, or if anybody wants to send through CRU, hard copy of that letter has to be signed by the person who is supposed to sign that letter, and then it has to be given to CRU. So that process is same. Currently whatever is happening in Tapal, it is the same process. That letter has to be taken as a printout. Now that particular letter, you have to get it signed from the person who is supposed to sign it. Then that physical copy of the letter has to reach CRU. So you may wonder why there is no email option for CRU. It is currently like that. If you have to dispatch through CRU, you will have to take a hard copy. You will have to download that draft. You will have to get it signed by the person who is supposed to sign it. Then that hard copy of the letter has to reach CRU. Now what will the CRU person do? Once I am the CRU person, I am playing the role of a CRU person. Once I receive it, what will I do? There is a receive here right side. This has to be clicked only when I physically receive it. So when I physically receive that letter, I click on OK. Now I have physically received the letter. Now after physically receiving the letter, what will I do? I'll put it in an envelope. I'll wait for the postman to come. After the postman comes, I'll give that envelope to him. Okay. So what is the postal mode that I'm going to put here? It is sent through, maybe it is through speed post, and I can put the postal charge and weight also. I can put the medium also. Okay. I can put Pune book number if you want, mode number, postal number you want, out date you can put here, delivery date you will not be able to know now, but there is an option that after delivery also you can enter the details. Then you can put the delivery date here. Remaining everything will be auto populated. Now here this address that you have written, that you can write here. Suppose it is to GPCL, it is to Gujarat, it is to director. You can put in all the details here. Okay. And then you can send it. So what I have done now, I will see in my inbox, okay, so and so person, say the XYZ superintendent has sent me one letter that is to be dispatched. Now I'll be able to see that in my inbox here. When I see that letter, by that time I should have received, ideally I should have received the hard copy of the letter. If I have not received, the CRE person should go to XYZ superintendent and then ask where is the letter. I have received an intimation in inbox. Now that XYZ superintendent will give the hard copy of the signed letter. Now the CRU person will have to put it in an envelope, and he will wait for the postman to come. He will send it, he will give it to the postman, and he will fill in the details here, all the details, and he will click on send. Okay. So where will it appear once it is sent? It will appear here for me in sent. I'll be able to see that I have dispatched. Okay, the details I'll be able to see here. Okay. So what is it that I said? Where did the process start? The XYZ superintendent said, I want to dispatch it through CRU. By clicking there from his file, he selected the CRU person's name as Padmaraj. Now I, who is the CRU person, will see that in my inbox. Then I'll have to go inside. I'll go to XYZ superintendent, get that physical copy of the letter that is signed. I'll wait for postman or whatever mode I am sending it through. I'll send it through postman. I'll enter the post details here. This is the CRU process. Now one minor variation, depending on whether it is allowed in your office or not, you can change the SOPs. Like you can make an SOP that CRU person has to go and ask the recipient, or you can make an SOP that before you send it, the XYZ superintendent who wants to dispatch it, he will have to mandatorily give the hard copy letter to the CRU person. that all is dependent on you, whether how you want to design your SOP. Now it is not that the CRU cannot send an email. How can a CRU send an email? He can, there is a workaround, like you can select that mode as others, and then you can select email is there below, dispatch mode email. You can select email and send it from the common mail ID of the CRU session. That is also there, but it is envisaged not to proceed like that. I mean, how it is envisaged is, the CRU session is the Tapal session that is currently there in office. They will not be able to see the communication that is supposed to be sent in e-office. They will have to receive a hard copy of the communication from the XYZ person who wants to send it through them. Then they will have to get it signed and then put it in a cover, or you, if it is a confidential letter, get the sealed cover along with the content, so that they cannot see, the CRU person cannot see what is the content, and then they can send it and enter the postal details there. After doing that, he or she will be able to see it in his sendbox. Okay. Now, whether the address is incomplete. If the address is incomplete, what will I do? I'll see an icon here, return. I can just click on return here and tell incomplete address. Because address is, pin code is missing and postal person will not know it, what will the CRU person do? The address that is written in the letter is incomplete, so I cannot send it. I'll send it back telling incomplete address. Okay, and it will go and set in the inbox of the other person, in the dispatch inbox of the person who has sent it to you. Now he will correct and send the address. Once he corrects and send the address, what you will have to do? You will have to again click on receive. When you receive the hard copy with the corrected address, you will have to again click on receive. Okay, and then I'll have to enter the postal details and send it here. Okay, it is sent. So this is how it generally works. So I think I have covered the inward as well as outward. This training is particularly meant for a CRU officer. The receives portion, the portion in receives, which is only meant for CRU officers, I have taken up. Similarly, in dispatch module also, the options that is only meant for use of CRU officers, I have taken up. Thank you. So I think the training was useful, and any doubts you can get back to me.